Hello, everyone. So glad you're here. It's going to be awesome as we are finishing up the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are finishing up a series, and I hope it entices you to want to go to our classroom and listen to the rest of them, because all of the trainings were fantastic. Really putting a strong focus on helping people understand the importance of leadership and accepting that role. We want to see the best come out of each and every one of you. And sometimes it's got to be, challenged. Sometimes it's got to be reminded. Sometimes it's got to be pulled. Sometimes it's got to be like an aha moment. And so that's going to continue to be something that we have a strong desire to make sure that you move into. And these chapters that we're going to discuss is really where the rubber meets the road. Like when in realistic terms, I hope that you've read them. If not, you're going to kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. The book, if you don't know, is 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It's a book by John Maxwell. Danny and I were introduced to this book 25 years ago, and it changed everything for us. Like, we really started to understand that it's not just about personal growth, but it's about growing as a leader, because the two go hand in hand. But there's the acceptance of, I am deciding to be a leader. Personal, we can do a lot of podcasts, we can do a lot of, self-help books, we can do a lot of different things to grow personally, but the decision to lead is the next step. And so that's always what we're hoping that you guys choose to do. Because when it comes to building a volunteer army like this, if you have a desire to build an army, if you have a desire to build an organization at whatever level, there is the reality of this acceptance to lead. And whatever way that looks like to you is the result that you'll get within your organization. And we're going to talk about some of that as we kind of unpack this today. I've got Kerri on here helping me co-host. So we're going to start with the law of legacy, right? Because there's no doubt that the better and the more you view, or the more you become the leader that you're called to be, the more legacy you will see. Because legacy is impact. I mean, there's a big difference in you impacting, one person versus a lot of people. I mean, it goes back to like, I love the way that he viewed it. Like, what do you want people to say at your funeral? What do you want it to look like? How do you want people to respond? I mean, it is something that really could stop you in your tracks. And I don't know, like, I lost my mother several years ago. I guess it's 9 years ago. And my mom was, she was a great mom, but I never saw her as this woman of impact, right? She never really had a job. She didn't really have a profession. She didn't have this sense of what we call success. She was just a great person. And I felt like everybody saw her as a great person. But then when she died, her funeral was packed out. And it wasn't just a little church, it was a huge church. It was just crazy. Not just, because she was Catholic, so there was a rosary, and the night before, packed out, and the viewing, and then the next day. And I was like, it was the reality of me understanding the impact that my mother had and the legacy that she truly had, because of the hearts that she touched along the way. And it gave me a totally different viewing and understanding of what legacy looked like. Because I'm not saying that somebody has to be extremely successful to leave a legacy by any means. And I'm not saying that you have to be some, mega builder to leave a legacy. Because I think that there's no doubt there's so many ways that people can leave a legacy, but it's what type of legacy do you want to lead and leave. And that's really what this is about. Because I don't know, for any of you guys that were at conference or have listened to conference, that's a word that David Schmidt is really talking about and leaning into. And everything he's creating is about the legacy that that he's leaving behind and that we leave behind, so that our brand partner number is used and is thriving way past us living, because it becomes a legacy. And that excites me. It's always been something that really has fired me up on the reason to build in this industry, because it's what I'm not just doing for myself, but it's what I'm doing for the legacy that we leave behind. So, success without succession is just short-term impact. And we want to make sure that we're building long-term impact, because this is about, again, just continuing to, to mentor and to transfer and to, make that impact, so that lives are different, marriages are different, families are different, financial situations are different. We want to break the cycles of dysfunction in people's life so that they have the freedom that they desire, because we don't want people to stay in the same, frustration and feel stuck in life. And in this, what I love about this is actually my favorite thing about this industry, because it gives us an opportunity to be able to impact lives like that, where we may have never known them before. Those of you that don't know this, Danny and I, we see this as a ministry to us. I mean, what we get to do to impact lives in this platform is so much more exciting than the reality of when we were pastors, because we were pastors for 10 years at a church, and we've been in this industry for almost 29 years. And when we weigh the options of where our impact has really made the biggest difference, and where we see the opportunity for the legacy for the lives and legacy that we're leaving behind, there is no doubt that our business ministry has been way more impactful than our church ministry. And that's just the reality of the way we see it, because we get to meet people that we would have never met. We get to build relationship and trust with people that we would have never had. And then we get to make an impact in their lives by partnering them in what their heart's desires are. And there is nothing more fun than watching something like that unfold. And that's why we know that we don't just do this as a profession. We've been called to this as a calling, and we take it very, very seriously. And that's why if you've been called into this, that's into this organization, you're going to continue to hear that. And there's no doubt we attract who we are. So even within our leadership team, you're going to continue to see that these guys modeling impact. They're sacrificing for the impact of lives to be changed, and truly to see legacies, move in a different direction, because in a better direction. And because they know, somebody within this organization, because they know you, they will choose to be better people because they're watching you. Just like what Danny was talking about. This is the way that we lead, because we are setting an example, because there is no doubt people are watching, whether you realize it or not. People are always watching you. The world is watching you. And so the way you handle things, of course, is going to impact the way they think about things, and the way they think about you, and the way they think about what you're doing, because the way that you're responding is definitely going to say a lot. So just keep in mind, the more that you create the things that Danny talked about, the more that you're going to be able to be that impact and create the legacy that, I would hope that you desire, because that is something very exciting when you get to realize what we get to do when it comes to legacy, because success fades. I don't get to take success to heaven, but it's the significance that lasts. The significance of my life in somebody else's life. That's what lasts. What true legacy is the amount of people that you touched in the life that you lived, and how often your name continues to come up just like some of the strongest leaders of our life, and you just keep hearing them, and we keep referring to them, and we keep thinking about them because they shaped and molded who we are today as a result of us knowing who, I mean, of us getting to know them. And there's just, it's just an incredibly powerful opportunity that we have, and something that I pray that y'all all take very, very serious. So, Kerri, you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I love it. You know, when I think about the legacy part, because it is what drives us today. You know, you get to a point in life where you don't want to just have success, you want to be significant in the lives of others. And that's a big turning point because now it's nothing's focused on you. It's really about what can I give others and what can I leave them with. And I was actually just asked by a group of ladies in ministry, like, you know, how do you feel your business it relates in ministry or ministry relates to your business? And I said, I have way more freedom and set people way free, way faster and better in business because we get to make an impact in the areas that matter the most. And I learned a long time ago, people will follow you in life and they'll follow you for eternity, right? Like you will get a chance to be the person that leads them. And like Diane said, we're not taking it with us, but what do we leave behind? Because that's really what matters. And, you know, the closing of my book is about legacy. And I write in there what I want for my children. The fact that I wrote the book was that I want my grandchildren and my great, 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 great grandchildren to know who I was and what I did. Because the reality is that, you know, I've asked people because whenever legacy really became real to me when I was standing in Scotland a few years back, and my grandmother, born in 1899, lived to be the age of 95 years old and always wanted to go home and never got there, but stayed connected, taught us all. We had a vision. We knew all about our family, our culture, our heritage, but she never made it back. And so we're standing in Scotland 3 generations in her honor. And I thought, I want my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids to not only do things with me, but to know what I did on earth mattered. And so, you know, I'm always saying, Lord, what do I do that leaves an impact for generations? And, you know, we were in Switzerland this summer, and, you know, David, what she said about David is so true because he talks so much about legacy and what outlasts us, and that he wants to see our business literally go 3 and 4 or 5 generations. And it's incredible whenever you see a visionary like that, a man that's not just thinking about today or tomorrow or next year or maybe 5 years, because that's how most people live their life and that's how most companies operate. But I'm talking about asking yourself the hard questions like, what do I want 2 and 3 generations beyond me to remember me for, right? Like, what do I want to do? And when we were in Switzerland, no, actually, we were in Denmark. And my phone rang one night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was a girl that I hadn't heard from in years. And she literally said, Kerri, I just cannot even stop thinking about you. And she goes, I needed to catch you up. Now, we probably haven't talked in about 12 years. And she goes, I needed to catch you up on my life because she said, today, she said, and she's telling me all about her position at UCLA and what she's done and all this stuff. And she's just going 90 to nothing. And she said, and I was sitting with the president of the university, whoever it is. And she goes, and he asked me, what do you think you did to get here? And she said, and all of a sudden I saw myself sitting in your living room. And she goes, and honestly, had I have not been in your business for a moment in time and sit under your leadership, I don't believe my life would have turned out the way it did. And you might not have known the impact you've made on me, but I needed to tell you thank you and let you know how my life turned out. Now, think about that because that, man, it still gives me cold chills because did I have a part of her getting to where she's at the top of UCLA? No, not technically, but the values, the things she learned, the things Danny just taught you, the capacity, the stability, the adversity, the adaptability. I hope you wrote those down because he's so right. When you can learn that adversity, all those things come against you and you've got to pivot. But as a leader, you don't get to retract. You don't get to go back and hide in the sand. You got to go, you know what? I've got to shift. I've got to go forward. I've got people counting on me. And so I'm so grateful that she thought enough of me to call me and to tell me that because it just made me go, thank you, Lord. Because that's what we want to do. We want to make such an impact that no matter where they go, no matter what happens in their life, you made a difference. You made an impact. And so it's incredible because we might not ever know what we fully do in a person's life, honestly. You know, it might just be that they come into your life to get healthy and then they go. It might mean that they come into your life and they get healthy and they earn some money and they pay off debt and then they go. And you know what? We don't hold on to people because if they're not here for the long haul, they're here for a reason and a season. And you have to know that as people come, that this kind of vehicle gives them the funds to fuel the vision that God gave them. We have seen that. Diane and I promise you have seen that hundreds of times over, where people come in and they are here and they're doing incredible, but it's literally the vision, the fact that they know there's something big and they move to other countries and they do big things, right? They needed the provision to be able to do the God-given assignment. And so you just have to know that whenever you're talking to people, you're not just talking about right now, what their life looks like and what it needs right now, but get good at pulling out what's inside of them. What's the dream hiding in their heart? What's the legacy they want to leave? Because I'm telling you, when you get to see yourself be a piece of that puzzle, it changes everything. It keeps us focused, it keeps us centered, and it keeps us in the game. Because people ask all the time, well, why don't y'all just go live on a faraway island? You don't have to. And I'm like, well, what good would that do the world? Like, we want to just keep showing up. We want to keep giving back because we know it's a bigger picture. And there's so many lives that are going to be changed and impacted because of your vision, the legacy you leave. And you might not, this side of heaven, you might not ever know. You might not get those phone calls because I'm sure there's a lot of them. But at the end of the day, when you get there, you're going to know. I promise you, you're going to be able to look back and be like, I'm so grateful that I stayed the course, that I fought through the hard times, that I did all those things. And legacy becomes so much bigger than any one of us or us collectively because you just never know where it's going to lead in a person's life. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that we were introduced to these 21 laws at a young age and that through the years we get to see them evolve. And even now, you look back at this stage of the game and you're still getting to see how you can just go to the next level.
Yeah.
None of us have ever going to arrive. I hope you know that. We're all still a work in progress. We still read, we still study, we still devote time to personal development. And we've been on this journey now for 26 years of doing this every day. And so that's the other thing I'll always say too. And I think Diane mentioned it early, but just don't compare yourself to anyone else. You run your race. God's put you in this time and this place for a reason. And so you stay focused on who you're assigned to and who you're going to help, and don't look and start comparing because you can get into a very competitive spirit here, but be competitive with you. Be competitive with yourself. And that was a lesson I had to learn. And I'll tell you, it was the best lesson of my life because I got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm cleaning up other people's messes, and that competitiveness came, and I saw them winning, and I didn't feel like I was. And I got the call, and it just said, "Hey, are you gonna stay there and compare yourself to someone else? Or are you gonna go out and change someone's life?" And that day, I met a young lady that would go on to do amazing things and change thousands of people's lives. But you know what? If I would have stayed with my eyes on other people, then that whole gap that I just told you about, that 2-year burst of explosive growth, wouldn't have happened. So you can't, it's human nature to get there, but you can't. You've got to just say, you know what? I'm running my race. I'm staying in my lane. I know what's before me, and I know that people who are assigned to me are coming, and I just got to keep going. And I'm telling you, in the end, you're going to be so thankful that you did because your life is, I mean, our life doesn't remotely even look like, I hope it never looks like that again, honestly. But I mean, I can't even think about our life before we began to apply these principles. Like, it's just crazy. It's like, that was actually us. That's kind of when I look back and go, really, that was us? But it was. So anybody can do this. That's proof.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing about what we're talking about here is, yes, the impact we get to make as leaders, but also the impact we get to make with a product. Just think about that person that's out there just, you know, patching everybody they get their hands on, and they're changing life after life. That's what we call it, the miracle inbox, because we continue to get the thank yous. Just like Dr. Presant said, he goes, I've been thanked more times for for you introducing me to this patch than in the 40 years, more times than in the 40 years I've ever been thanked for, saving somebody's life on the operating table, or doing a great job, in an operation. He goes, people stop and they thank me, and they are so grateful for the impact that I've made because I cared enough to let them know about this patch. And that's what we get to do to make an impact in people's lives also. I mean, and that is the reality of just loving people, because great leaders love people. There's no doubt about it. And that if that comes natural to you, you're going to do a really, really great job by sharing this incredible product and making an impact in that way too. So that is what is so incredibly exciting. True legacy is leaders that outlive their presence. And that's what we want to do. We want to outlive our presence and duplicate ourselves so that people way beyond our life are continuing to carry the torch for what we believed in so strongly. And that is, again, what we get to do.